a foxhole together, knowing that, you know, your fellow soldiers have your back, and you have theirs, and there's a responsibility involved, and there's a duty involved, and that sort of drives me, you know, and I shall always remember you, the foxhole.
Your first feeling watching for the first time, the first script you had to read about True Blood?
The pilot episode starts off very, I mean, slow isn't the right word, but it takes its time in setting things up. And it doesn't feel like it has to accomplish everything in the first episode. So I read the first episode and then I knew about the books. And I think Alan maybe gave me the first 3 episodes or 2.5. He'd only written. And of course, and he told me what was going to happen. He told me I was a shapeshifter, which was crazy. And so I saw a lot of where this world could go, and I just saw this infinite possibilities within the world. So I was excited in that sense of seeing where it could go.
And Tara, do you remember the cast part? Or were you cast?
Yeah.
Did you have to do strange things already, or?
No strange things. I know I had to I had to read a scene this is season 1, the scene with me and you on the porch with the tequila. I read that scene, and I just remember Alan just telling me to just keep it vulnerable. I was just happy to be there. Like, I just couldn't believe that I was there. And then, you know, when I got my first script, like, I still have all my scripts all in a little binder, and they're all marked up and highlighted, my little notes and stuff. And it's just, it really means a lot to me. Like, I love the work. I love who I work with. And I will never forget that moment when I got that call at Starbucks, and they were like, hey.
It's like I remember exactly where I was, too.
They were like, so, you want to go on that honeymoon? I was like, what? Shut up. And I almost crashed into someone's car because I was so excited. I was in Culver City at that Starbucks. I'll never forget, in Venice. And, yeah, it was, I'm going to cry, but it was amazing.
Yeah, I was in a car, too. It was raining. I remember exactly where I was. I was on Abbot Kinney. Headed toward, and I got the call, and I was, like, screaming in the car. Because I just knew that this has got to be the one. This would be good, yeah.
Do you have expectations for your character?
I remember when we first started, I thought, well, I better give Alan Ball some ideas about my character. So I wrote, like, this 3-page thing and gave it to him, and I don't think he read it. I do not think he read it, which is good, which is probably good.
Do you remember this famous idea?
Yes, what did
it
you
was
say?
totally, I don't know, it was theories of shapeshifters and, you know, all kinds of crazy...
Quantum physics.
Yes, I got into weird quantum physics and semiology and, like, but, so I don't know, I mean, they're gonna, you know, they have... I mean, Alan, I feel like he'll listen to you, but he's going to ultimately do what he wants to do.
Sure, of course.
I mean, he's a nice guy.
He's God.
Yes, exactly. And I'm glad. I want him to decide for me.
Alexander, you have to play characters who have pretty strange qualities, but you have to make them look real. So how do you handle this? Do you get inspired by people you know, or observing people? Do you do some
I think
research?
as a vampire, you stepping into this project, you had to update it a bit. I mean, I watched a lot of old vampire movies before we started, and you can't really do the Max Schreck Nosferatu or the Bela Lugosi Dracula in this sense, because they have to function in a society with human beings. So you have to make and I think that's what's interesting about these vampires, that they do function in a society alongside human beings, but they're still killers, they're still animals, and that's potentially good drama, I think.
True Blood's about the terrors of intimacy. Oh my God. It's about the open and not so open aspects of human nature. It's about sex. But mostly it's about these people who live in Bontemps, Louisiana, and how their day-to-day lives are impacted by vampires integrating into society in a very small town.
You do not want to get mixed up with vampires.
As you know, our viewers have just discovered the first episode of season 2. So what are the major changes between season 1 and 2?
I think for Eric, at least, it's in season 1, it's all business. He's only in a few episodes, and he comes in and he's like Bill's boss. He's running this. He's an entrepreneur, a businessman. And in season 2, it's personal. It's a personal journey for Eric, and I think you'll discover another side of Eric.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it. What about you? What about Marianne?
In the first season, when we meet Marianne, she's somewhat mysterious. She seems to be a somewhat odd and quirky benefactor. We don't quite know what her agenda is. And as we careen into the second season, that becomes incredibly clear and more demented as the season wears on. So
If that's possible.
Without being, I hope I'm not being too vague, but it was certainly not what I'd expected to happen. So I was probably more surprised than the audience was. Sam?
Well, for Sam, I mean, Sam's like a little ant that's like, there's this fist going like that, like almost trying to... No, there's I'm just trying to survive season 2.
But he's a pretty ant.
But,
He's a pretty ant who shows his backside a lot.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I mean, I think there's a lot of shame that he had with being a shapeshifter, and he actually meets somebody who teaches him that it's okay to be himself and to reveal himself. Exactly, and there's some ramifications and some consequences to that whole thing. But he kind of, you know, looks deep, and then he's always screwed. So.
And what about poor Tara?
Poor Tara, the tortured soul in season 1. I think as we approach season 2, she has Marianne now, who has become a mother figure for her, and I really believe that Marianne has sort of taken Tara under her wing. But in the back of Tara's mind, she doesn't trust it, yet it's better than what she had. It's better than being in jail. It's better than being with her mother. And there's this handsome guy with a guitar serenading her, so, you know, and there's this house with this overflowing fruit and marijuana, and she's just like, okay, I love it. And so I think we're going to get to see her open up a little bit more, and I really think you're going to get to see her heart and maybe see her really, really fall in love this time and really be there in the present in the moment. Because I feel like with Sam in season 1, I feel like Tara was falling in love, but she just didn't know what to do with it and wasn't really ready for it, you know, and sort of ran away from it. You know, Sam kept being like, hey, where you? And
Where you
there she
going?
goes.
Another
Mom
one.
call?
Yeah. Gotta go.
Gotta go where?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure and privilege
Mostly
to have such actors with me. And maybe a last tricky game, a few words in French.
L'araignée est une étudiante singulière. Dans les étoiles, ils se font. Something is vangulant. En garde! I can only sing Spider-Man in French, and that is it.
J'aime jouer au foot avec mes copains.
Mais j'espère que vous aimez la série et la deuxième saison. Est-ce qu'on dit ça?
On dit ça. Merci.
Voila.
I need to use that more.
He just